My name is Igor Patrick, and I will be presenting the High Growth Entrepreneur Network, HiGen for short. And I'm here with Mr. Tobi Olagunju, the CEO Tropic Dreams. And
Hello.
I would like for you to introduce yourself, your business, and you will be discussing with us effective customer service and feedback management. So over to you, Mr. Tobi.
Right. So thanks so much, Mr. Patrick. So is your first name Igwe or is your first name Patrick?
My first name is actually Igwe.
Igwe. Okay. Nice to meet you,
Yeah,
Igwe.
thank you.
Well, my name is Tobi Olagunju, agency and director of Tropic Dreams. Tropic Dreams is a digital agency, and our mission or what we do is we help businesses grow by providing the right technology, tools, training, and services. So, long story short, we do ERP implementations, we help with product design and development, and even digital marketing. We're trying to be an agency that is able to provide value at all steps of the funnel for any product growth, both in the way a company works, the efficiency of how they work, both in building the product itself, whether it be a web or mobile app, or and even in the marketing of the product that is putting it out there and acquiring users. Um, yes, so this is our business. We help businesses, and we also have our own in-house products that we're building and partnerships across the board. So that's what we do.
Okay, so Mr. Toby, I would like to find out how has this topic, effective customer service and client feedback management, helped your company grow?
Okay, well, I think customer feedback management and customer service, those are one of the bedrock of any good company. And even for us, it has really helped us a lot in terms of our direction. I mean, when we started in 2017, and at that point we didn't even really have strong direction of what exactly we wanted to be doing. There were some, we just knew we could offer these services, and we're just in the market offering these services. If you need this, we can do that. If you need that, we can do this. If you need this, we can do that. And, in to be able to come to define the direction that we wanted to go, a lot of that had to do with, receiving feedback and listening to customers, finding out where exactly their pain points were, building partnerships, products, and services around those pain points. Because as a digital agency, a lot of soft skills in-house, whether it's, developing applications, application development, whether it's graphic design, whether it's, IT support, whether it's, digital marketing in terms of running ads, analytics, all those we have all those skills. So, the question is, how do you combine those skills together to turn it into a product or a service that is repeatable? And, a lot of that had to do with the feedback that we have with our clients that has allowed us position ourselves and define our products and the suite of products that we would like to build moving forward, or we would like to offer. So without that customer feedback, you don't really have a business. So, whatever product you have, it's not going to last long. So customer feedback is very important.
Thank you, Mr. Toby. So I would also like to find out from you, really, how has the growth process been for your business in quote, Tropic Dreams? How has it really impacted upon your business since its inception?
Okay. Well, I mean, the year 2019 was very rough for our business because we were seeing that, like I said, the development stage. And when you're getting feedback and you're analyzing and you're determining which direction, what exactly where are the gaps? When you're doing all of that, it's a very interesting place to be. But those kind of times are necessary so that you can define yourself for our type of business. Now, every business is different, of course. And, some people, right from the bat, when they start off a business, they have a strong direction already of where they want to go. But in our case, we didn't really have a strong direction. So we needed to kind of walk around the wilderness and see what exactly are the pain points that different people have, what kind of products and services we need to be offering, how we need to shape ourselves to meet what is in the market. And so, yeah, I mean, 2020, we've grown exponentially. And, that's been a result of all the feedback and all the, a lot of times, I guess, which we'll discuss during the presentation later on. Receiving feedback is one thing. Implementing the received feedback, that is a completely different scenario, because just because sometimes it takes a long time to implement, actually, change direction, to put some things you need to put in place. A lot of things need to you need to play. And of course, there's also a bit of luck that needs to be there as well. So, lucky dust. So, but all things being equal, it's been good for us this year. We've grown exponentially, and we have a clear direction of where our products and services will be in the next few months. And, we're excited out here. So, yeah, it's been very good.
Okay. So I guess, Mr. Toby, you have a form of presentation for entrepreneurs. Uh,
Yeah, it's a little something I put together.
okay, so you can go ahead with your presentation.
All right. Okay. All right. 1 second here. Let me open it up. All right. Hopefully you can see my screen.
Second.
Thank you very much. So we're talking about effective customer service and client feedback management skills. Don't mind me reading out what is obvious on there, but this is the topic that we are talking about. And so, yeah, let's jump right into it. I guess the first question that needs to be asked is, what is even the purpose of this exercise? Why are we talking about this? And, just to outline the purpose, even before we get started, the purpose is so that we can really understand what customer service is all about, understand the importance of customer service and, receiving feedback and how to deal with that feedback, how to categorize that feedback. These are all important things. We have to understand the ways for collecting customer feedback. How exactly am I to collect that feedback? What are the different ways of collecting feedback? And finally, how to apply the feedback, because collecting feedback and the application of feedback are two different things. So that is the purpose. At the end of this short presentation, you will have a very broad understanding of these things. As you can tell, this is not going to be an in-depth class, so to speak, for lack of a better word. It's just we're going to wallow around on the surface, but the whole idea is for you to kind of have a broad understanding of how customer service and client feedback are important in building your business. Okay. To get it off, the first definition: what is customer service? A lot of people define customer service in a lot of different ways, but as the name implies, it's really about serving your customer. I have two definitions here from various sources. This is the Google generation, so guys, you can just Google and read a lot about all of this. This is just from Google. It says here on the dictionary, the assistance and advice provided by a company to those people who buy or use its products or services. That's straightforward. The assistance you provide. Somebody wants to use your product, somebody wants to engage your services. How do you make it easy for them to find you? How do you make it easy for them to use your products or to engage and work with you if you're providing a service? And finally, even when you're done providing that service, how easy do you make it for them to reuse or get back in that process, or even leave feedback? So the next another definition here is the provision of service before, during, after a purchase. The perception of success of such interaction is dependent on employees who can adjust themselves to the personality of the guest. Well, that's straightforward. Customer service has to do with your company, and the face of your company to the customers using your products or services are your employees. Depending on the type of business, I should say. If your product is a mobile app, then that mobile app essentially is your agents, your customer service agents, and how helpful its prompts are. Hey, have you checked this? Hey, have you checked that? Did you notice this? Are you having issues with that? You know, all those kind of prompts, and, you know, an ability, making it easy for your customers or your users to be able to ask questions or talk, you know, get extra support or human support when needed. All of that encompasses customer service, just making it easy for, you know, to shorten it, making life easy for your customers and your users. Make their life easy, and your life will be easy as well. So those are some quick definitions, just so we can understand customer service from a, you know, like I said, from a broad level. So there's a funnel here. Well, one second, let's not rush. I have a funnel here for you guys, just to kind of help understand the customer service funnel and the different parts everybody plays in this funnel. It starts from the awareness. People don't know about your products or your services, and what is your process from making them aware. I mean, it is customer service if you think of it broadly, because it has to do with customers. And if, for example, in a certain area, there is a lack of access to good water, and, you know, you have a product or a service that can essentially, you know, provide people with clean, good water, you know, it is a service to let them know about that service or that offering or your product. You know, by doing that, you are doing them good. So in many ways, customer service, if you are providing value, if you are adding value to the lives of, you know, your customers, then it's, you know, it starts from the awareness. How are you making them aware of the value that you have in the market? The next step is in the, you know, so now you've made them aware of, you made a bunch of people aware. Some people now engage your services or your product. And so they jump into your sales funnel, and they become active customers. They are actively using your products. So, you know, it could be a short product use, it could be a long product use. I mean, you know, buying biscuits and eating, buying biscuit and eating it, it is a product, and you are using it, even though the enjoyment is just for, you know, a few minutes, but it's still a product and you're using it. And whether or not you will go again and buy that same biscuits is up to how you felt or how the experience of using that product, right? And so in many ways, so as customers engage your product use, you want to, you know, ensure that they have a smooth experience. And then, you know, as they use your product, they will typically divide into two categories. Some people will be super happy. They will be so happy and overjoyed by the experience of your service or your product. They become your super happy customers. They are quick to spread word of mouth. They are quick to recommend to their friends, to their family, and just kind of evangelize your service or your product because of the value that they have gotten from it. Well, you know, there will be people who, you know, for some reason or another, didn't just enjoy it. Maybe the app broke when they were trying to make the payments. They couldn't. They had to do this and they had to do that, and it was just a stressful experience for them. There will be people like that. There will be people who, you know, maybe, you know, they went to your store and, you know, maybe, you know, there was some construction going on that day, and there were no seats for them to sit, and they had to stand the whole time while they were waiting at your reception. It wasn't an enjoyable experience for them. They went to your office and they had to do that. So yes, there will be unhappy customers. There will be super happy customers, and there will be regular users who are just using the product and are getting the value from it. From each of these people, I guess the last group of people that we haven't mentioned are the stars of the show, which are your employees or your products themselves, you know, depending on what kind of product or service you have in the market. So your employees, these are the stars. They are the ones who carry the experience. They are the ones who formulate the experience of how your service is being engaged, or, you know, your mobile app, the UI, the UX, how it works, how it makes things easier for your customers. It becomes the star of the show that makes sure that your customers, as they use your service, are having a wonderful experience. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, from each of these segments of people, you want to get feedback. You want to get feedback from the employees, or you want to know how your customers are using the app. How, you know, is it efficient? Are there steps that can be cut down to make it faster and easier? You want to know from the unhappy customers what made them unhappy. this is where you get the best feedback about your weakest link. What exactly, maybe the app broke, and then you know that you have some issues that you need to deal with there. Then also from the super happy customers, you want to turn them into evangelists. You want to get feedback. Why were they so, what were the best thing they enjoyed? Would they, you can use them to get extra feedback, generate social content, and, just use it to kind of further promulgate, the awareness of your service or product in the market. So customer service is essentially, it is essential for moving people, moving potential users to become super happy customers, and making sure that you have a smooth machine running across this entire graph. I've talked a lot about that, but there are some things to note. Happy employees, happy customers. This means that if your employees, the people who essentially are the face of your service, your receptionist, your IT support staff, your customer support agents, the people who liaise and interface with the customers. If they are happy and they're enjoying their work, then they will serve in a happy manner that will translate into happy customers. Because why? They are the stars of the show. They are the one liaising with the customers and interfacing with them and moving them across the funnel. So if your employees are happy, your customers will be happy. That's pretty straightforward. The funnel size will mostly always be true. That means ideally, there's always going to be more people who haven't heard or more people who haven't used your product than people that are actually currently using your product. Not always the case, but for most companies growing, this is what you will find. And then you're going to find that there's typically more people using your product than more people who are super happy customers, and more people who are super happy customers than people who are unhappy. This is for a healthy product. If you are having a situation where you can see so unaware customers should be greater than active customers, we should be greater than super happy customers, we should be greater than unhappy customers. If you find yourself in a situation where unhappy customers are greater than super happy customers, then that is not good. That does not bode well for the long-term viability of your product or your service. In the same way, if you have a lot of, the other side of the coin is if you have so many happy customers that, you can't have more happy customers than active, but, you essentially want to have a situation where you have as many super happy customers from your active customers. If 80%, which is highly unlikely, by the way, if 80% of your customers are super happy, you're in a very good place. If 10%, it's still okay. You can work with that. But you want to, that is how rare it is. And the reason is because super happy customers are special because they will go the extra mile, they will do the extra stuff just to make you, just to spread the word and become evangelists for your product or your service. Your active customers, the active customers, so you want to get feedback from every, step of the funnel. You want to get feedback from all participants in the funnel. These are things like we already said that before, and you can see it through the feedback text bubbles here. The super happy and unhappy customers are the most likely to give you feedback. When a customer experience, and while the active customers are the least likely to give you feedback. This is what you typically find because if I order McDonald's and I go to McDonald's and I eat McDonald's and, I enjoy it, that is it. I don't, I just leave. If I order food from your restaurant, I go, I eat, I ate the food I was expected to eat. I enjoyed myself. That's what I paid for anyways. And I left, that's just a good old day in the office. That was just, I just got what I paid for. So, what else do you want? Like, these active customers, the feedback they give is mostly passive. They just use your services or use your products. They don't actually say anything. They just use and go. As long as you deliver on what you said you would deliver, they are good to go. And so it's typically difficult to get active feedback from these guys because or your, let's say, they are least likely to give feedback or come and tell you, oh, you did such an awesome job with the food. The happy customers, super happy customers, are people that are likely to come and tell you, I want to see the chef. I just wanted to say that the food was awesome and I enjoyed it and I love it and I want to take a picture and I'll always come back, and they say all the many sugary things that, you know, just depict their emotional states, the positive emotional state of happiness they felt after using your product or your service. In the same way, unhappy customers will also give you feedback. Trust me. You don't. They are the most. In fact, they are even more likely to give feedback than the super happy. And you should know that this feedback does not always directly come to you, both for the super happy and the unhappy. If a customer goes to the restaurant, orders a steak, gets something that is terrible, not, you know, spiced and flavored enough, and had a terrible experience, you know, they wouldn't want to keep it to them. They're gonna want to tell someone. And so they're going to give feedback to their neighbors, give feedback to anyone who's willing to listen. And sometimes that feedback comes directly to you too. So it just gives you an opportunity for you to actually provide more value by turning that on, you know, communicating with them. And this is where the customer service comes into play. Your ability to turn unhappy customers by collecting feedback into super happy customers by taking them through the funnel and, you know, purposefully fixing what they're making them feel heard and fixing whatever issues they've raised up so that they can become regular customers once more or super happy customers. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So now, collecting feedback. There are two different ways that you can essentially get feedback. You can collect it actively or passively. To collect feedback actively is to directly reach out and ask for feedback. You know, an example of that is maybe after a customer has eaten, for you to go and ask, would you mind filling out a survey, letting us know how your experience at the restaurant was today? That is active feedback. You're directly asking for feedback. And it's pretty much service. You're asking questions and you want to know, you want to hear from your customers. It can come in-app, through your product, your mobile app or web app, whatever it is. It can come through emails, phone calls. You know, it's just you reaching out or directly just engaging the customer and asking them, how was your experience today? Typically, active feedback collection, typically, you know, usually it's kind of, sometimes it can get expensive. Reach out to people, offer incentives. You know, it takes time and resources to actually go after it and, you know, make sure you get it and organize giveaways and different things like that, just to, you know, collect that information. Passive collection of feedback is really just listening. And that is feedback that is going to pop up anyways. So, you know, you're listening on your social media, on your blogs, you're listening to comments, things people say, you know, listen to what comments customers drop, you know, watching out for social media, you know, things people are saying about your brand or your product on social media, you know. So yeah, so you pretty much just listen. Also, observing customer behavior can give you a lot of feedback. As we said earlier, if, for example, someone has been an active customer for 2 years, coming and using your product or your service, and all of a sudden they drop off and they are no longer using it, you know, that is, you know, by their behavior, they've given you feedback. In the same way, if you had 10 users today and you increased to 30 users, that is feedback that you're doing something that is working. So when you notice that feedback from the way your customer behave, the change in behavior, is something that could prompt you to now directly go and get feedback. So when you see the customer behavior change, you know, it's a good opportunity to go and get feedback from the customer. And just listen to customer comments, which is kind of similar to the first one here. I guess here I was referring to online listening, and this is offline listening. You know, if you have a business that's, you know, you have staff that's, you know, physically interact with the customers, just listen to the comments they make here and there, and just making sure that you are aware of everything that is going on, know the condition of your customers, so that you can be there to salvage or to fix anything that requires issue. And that's what will take us into the next point, which is now applying the feedback. You know, because we were making sure to store, categorize all the feedback we see, why, so that you can eventually apply it. application of feedback. So we have a nice chart here that just kind of maps out where, how we essentially categorize the different feedback we receive. It's a map up of urgency in relation to the ease of execution of that said feedback. How urgent is it? How critical is it? And how easy is it to execute? This is a popular, chart. And if the urgency is high, it's critical. The app is broken. It's not working. That is a very high urgency feedback, right? How easy is it to execute? It's broken. What is the next step? Can we easily execute this? Yes, fix immediately. If it's easy to execute and it's urgent, you need to fix it right away immediately, no delays. It's low-hanging fruit. If it's urgent and it's not easy to execute, then you need to make a plan immediately to fix, and you need to start communicating with the stakeholders involved. For example, something goes wrong with your restaurant and there's a certain smell that is coming out that is disturbing your users, and you don't even know where the smell is coming out from. That is something that is not as easy to execute, but it's very critical and urgent. So immediately you need to start making a plan, and you need to start communicating, put signs up, let customers know, give discounts, whatever it is, just to let them know that you feel their pain, because it's an urgent, it's critical. So if it's critical and it's not easy to use, you need to communicate, you need to make a plan. I need to work towards fixing it in the short and mid-term. Well, the short term ideally, but depending on how easy it is to execute, how difficult the execution is, it might stretch towards the mid-term. Finally, well, not finally, the third one is if it's not very urgent, but it's still easy to execute, then you want to fix it in the short term. It's not so urgent that you need to set up a communication plan, but it's something that you just want to keep in the backlog and know that in the short term we should be fixing this. It's easy to fix, so there's nothing delaying. It's also fixing it. And then the final one, if it's not urgent and it's difficult to execute, and it needs to be in the backlog until the urgency rises or the ease of execution becomes more. It needs to move into one of these three blocks for you to work on it. If it's here, you don't need to spend energy and resources. But it moves up here, and that's why the arrows are here, because these things, feedback, it moves from one quadrant to another. So I guess some things to note. Which quadrant does the feedback fall into? And fluidity of feedback, urgency, and ease. Pretty much what we said earlier, that every feedback must fall into one of these categories. If the customer tells you, hey, there's some trash in front of your store, and it's making everywhere look terrible. That's something you can fix immediately. You don't need to make a plan. You go there and you fix it. Now, if it's a situation where there are animals that keep coming to put trash in front of your store, then that's not as easy to execute. And sure, you can still do something in the immediate, but you still need to make a plan, and you need to communicate the situation and with your customers so that their use of your product or service is not it's a good experience. It's not a bad experience. And throughout this process, you're communicating. Your customer service is top-notch, which is just making sure the customers feel heard, making sure that you empathize with them at every point of their engagement with your company or your product. And so, yeah, and so this is pretty much how it works, how you know what feedback to apply. And just going off of what I said earlier, for us, we were in a situation where we had a high critical, in order to revamp or to redefine ourselves, our services, or products. It was on the high critical level, but the ease of execution was not easy at all. And so we had to have a plan and execute it. That it took about 6 months in terms of execution time, 6 to 9 months. So those are the situations you have. All right. Well, I've come to the end of my presentation, I believe. That's a little one for you guys. But to conclude, I hope with this little graphs and the quadrants, understanding customer service and feedback, we really understand what customer service is about, which is about tailoring and ensuring that your customers, your users, have a wonderful experience using your product or your service at whatever stage they find themselves, whether it's at the awareness or whether it's at active using it, or even if something goes wrong and they become unhappy or they become super happy, making sure that they don't feel alone, making sure they know that you care about their, care about them, you empathize with them. So you have to understand, I hope you understand the importance of customer service and client feedback management. If you are not collecting feedback, if you're not listening, then your prospects are very low, for your product or your service. If you're not listening, you will either be usurped by competition or you'll just be left behind in terms of your customer, how they view your brand, the perspective of your brand or your product or your service. I hope you've understood some ways to collect customer feedback, both actively and passively, and even how to allocate resources in the application of this customer feedback. Thank you very much. And I hand it off back to you, Igwe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tobi. It was very enlightening. And I just have a question. So it has to do with translating a super unhappy customer into a happy customer, especially with the feedback and the ways of applying it. That's just really what I really want to know. How can you apply it effectively?
Okay, thank you. Yes, super unhappy customers, these are the guys, right? They're unhappy, something went wrong. And the beauty of these guys is that they help to expose the weakest link or in your process. You might have everything, you think you have everything figured out, but you might not know that from the hours of 4 to 5 p.m. your employees get really grumpy and less enthused about serving your customers. And you get excellent customer service from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. But once you start hitting 4:45 and they want to go home, their face starts to frown. When they see customers, they're no longer as happy. And the customer goes there and he has that kind of experience. It gives you critical information that you might not be aware of. So the question you asked was, how do you translate them from unhappy customers to super happy? The first thing is you have to make them feel heard, because you should feel privileged that you even got that feedback. They didn't just take it with them and never come back. If you are able to get this feedback that this guy was unhappy after using my product or service, and that feedback has come to you, then that is actually a very good first step. Now, you just got to make the customer feel heard. You got to communicate, depending on the feedback you receive, of course. If he gives you feedback that is something you can fix immediately, and you see that I can fix this immediately, and it's actually something that will make this customer fired up once more or feel like the company understands me, then why? Nothing stops you from, you should absolutely do that and fix the issue. If it's something where it's critical and you can't fix it as quickly, then you have to communicate. The whole goal is really just communication, just to communicate with them, make them feel heard, to empathize with their pain. Once you do this, then even if the customer knows that, wow, okay, there's some kinks in the service when I use it, but these guys are actually, you can become a supporter, and usually these guys that are happy can become your biggest supporters, just because they've been through, for lack of, I guess you can think of it like they fought through the trenches with you. When the service was not that great and you're working it out, they saw how you heard them, how you made the changes, and now they can see the results of that. They feel invested in your success, and they are the guys that actually turn into super happy customers, because they've journeyed along with you. But if you do not carry them along communication wise, then you just lost the customer, and that's bad feedback in the market. And so
thank you very much, Mr. Tobi, for your time. This was a very enlightening session. So along the way, in every business, we now know that feedback is very essential. So it's very critical for every business to have a feedback mechanism process. So I think this is very helpful for our entrepreneurs, and with the high growth entrepreneur network, this would help every business be able to scale better. So I think this was a very helpful session. So thank you very much again, Mr. Tobi Olagunju,
Thank
the
you. Thank
CEO.
you. Thank you.
So
Been a
this,
pleasure.
yes, thank you very much, Mr. Tobi. Uh,
No problem. All right, so it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Igwe. So please, it will be helpful, it will be good for me to see the recording before you put it up as well. So thank you. All right, I'm going to leave now. You're on mute, so I don't know what you're saying. I can't hear you.